Good morning, Twin Cities. Adam. I'm Jack Tomczak. That's Andrew Lee.
Good morning.
Coming to you live from Camp Ripley. Third wheeler is Tom Lyons.
Morning, Jack. Morning, Andrew. We got the sun coming up over at Camp Ripley. It's a beautiful morning. A little chilly though.
Little cold up here. A little chillier up here than I'm used to.
So it's chilly. It's chilly everywhere, you guys.
The show, as always, produced by Lump.
Good morning.
Lump, how is our favorite military officer, Major Echo, doing?
It sounds good. It's doing good.
All right, on the show today, a pile of guests. I got to get it in front of me here. We've got Michael Warden. He's the Command Sergeant Major here at Camp Ripley.
Correct.
And Tom, correct me if I screw any of this up. Then we have... Where's my... Lump, without you printing out my run sheet, I don't know what I'm doing around here.
What would you do
Try
without
some
me?
paper, Jack. Here it is.
Finding out now.
Also, Ken Toole, buddy of mine, he's a Boy Scout District Executive. They do a lot of stuff here at Camp Ripley, so we'll have him in as well. And at 8 o'clock, Director Joe Kelly of Minnesota's Homeland Security Emergency Management will be joining us. Then to wrap up the show, Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Veterans is Larry Shelito. And what was Larry Shelito's previous position?
He was the Adjutant General of the Minnesota National Guard for 7 years prior to General Nash taking over about 6 years ago.
Okay. All right. And Andrew, would you like to explain why we're here, or is that a better question for Tom?
Well, we're up here as guests of the Minnesota Military Radio Hour. This is a trip for not just us, but a lot of the affiliates and potential affiliates. There was a banquet last night, a dinner last night that we all enjoyed and got to hear about the history of the show and what the show's been up to. And so thank you for inviting us, and thank you for having us up here.
Well, thanks for
Did I
that.
leave anything out?
Well, you forgot to tell the audience that this is all your fault.
That's what I learned last night with everything you said last night, Thomas, that Andrew Lee did all of this.
Yeah.
He shanghaied me about 6 years ago and said, I want you to do a little Sunday morning show, and now it's turned into a show that's heard
all
on
I'm responsible for, though.
33 stations.
That's it. I am only responsible for the Sunday morning, 7 a.m. on Twin Cities News Talk. Everything else was all you. You took it and ran with it.
You were cheerleading all the way. And we won't talk about the Vikings cheerleader suit.
It's been amazing. I mean, this was the idea for the show was something. I did a similar show at my station in Arizona, in conjunction with Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and so I wanted to sort of replicate that type of show up here, a show where members of the military, veterans, can tell their stories and share their stories, because people want to know and they want to hear about it. Everybody talks about supporting the troops, but they're not often given tangible ways that you can do that. So I wanted a show that would sort of help with that and tell that story and tie in the Minnesota Military Family Foundation and the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon work that you do. But it's blown up beyond my wildest expectations. I mean, I thought it would be a nice little Sunday morning public affairs program that, ties in well with what we do and what our audience is interested in. But what you did with it and where you took the show from there has been absolutely amazing. And in my 17 years of radio, it's one of the both things I'm most proud of to be involved with.
Well, thank you. We had some good fortune along the way because we partnered with the Minnesota National Guard and the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, and then we brought in the Minneapolis VA healthcare system, and so that gave us access to the military in Minnesota, all the programs and services available to help our veterans, and some really good stories from the doctors out at the VA Medical Center on what they're doing to take care of our veterans, and they're doing some great work.
Yep.
So we've had some good fortune. You had allowed us to share the content with some outstate radio stations, and we found a whole pile of them that liked the show. So it's been kind of fun.
Who was the Beyond Twin Cities News Talk? Who was the next station? What was the next station that picked you up?
The first person I called was Rod and Chris Grams, and we did that because News Talk doesn't come in too well up here at Camp Ripley, and Camp Ripley's a 53,000-acre first-class military training site. It's a state asset, belongs to the state. And so I called Rod Grams because he has a couple of radio stations in Little Falls.
Yep.
And he said, I don't want it on one, I want it on my AM and my FM, and the network was born.
Wonderful.
And they're still carrying the show.
And we're up to 33?
33 stations as of yesterday. We just added Pine City and St. Cloud.
All right. And when does it air, and how can people find it in their market?
Well, most important, it airs on the flagship, Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130, Sunday mornings at 7. And you can find podcasts of the show at MinnesotaMilitaryRadio.com. And if you go to that website and hit the About Us page, you'll see a map and a list of all the stations and what times it airs, because it starts at 6:30 on Saturday morning and goes through 8 o'clock Sunday night on some of those stations.
And, of course, available on your iHeartRadio app. All right, what kind of topics do you cover on the show?
Well, it's a Minnesota Military Public Affairs program, and what we try to do is tell the stories of the military in Minnesota, veterans' benefits from the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon programs to support the families of the troops, because when we have troops deployed, they know what they're going to do every day, and it's long days, but their families are at home with one spouse instead of two, taking care of the kids, doing all the things. And the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon programs were designed to help those families while the deployed family member is gone. And then, of course, we get stories from the VA hospital. We've got the Commander's Task Force that comes on. That consists of the 9 federally chartered veteran service organizations like the VFW, American Legion, Veterans, Vietnam Veterans of America, and DAV. And they come on the show, and of course we've got a lot of veterans that come on and tell their stories of where they served and in the various wars, going back to World War II, Korea, Vietnam, First Gulf War, and today's wars. So a lot of stories, and
great stories.
All you did was put me in a position so I can ask some questions and we can tell these stories, and I think they're important stories for our citizens to hear, because today only 1% of us serve in the military. That means 99% enjoy the fruits of the best country in the world and all the freedom we have. And I think it's good to remember that we've got people out there risking their lives and sacrificing, and families that are sacrificing as well.
Last night in the dinner, the speech you gave there, you talked about the many things that you do on the show, and I really do think you've saved lives. And all the work you've done to build the network, all the work that Andrew did to come up with the idea, and then at the end we all got a coin, a very important coin from Major General, Adjutant General Nash.
The Adjutant
right?
General, who is also a Major General, 2-star General, Rick Nash.
And you guys did all this work, you and Andrew and many other people. And then I got a coin too, and I'm like, I just showed up this time and then the other time.
I'm just along for the
so
ride.
Thank you.
Up and Adam in the morning supports the show, and the General wanted to say thank you.
And we are happy to do that. We appreciate the flight up yesterday in our Hondas.
Yeah.
Yep.
I flew right on up.
Yep.
Little
slower in my Honda than the helicopter from last time. But
believe me, if you're on a Blackhawk and they can't find the ceiling and you're in the clouds, it's not a good thing. And today there's 30 and 40 mile an hour winds.
Oh, I'm glad that. Yeah, I don't want to.
I'm appreciative that somebody who knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about made that call.
The aviation.
And say, no, we got this, because that's what I would have done.
Well, let's risk it.
Yeah, whatever. I got this. We can do this.
Yeah.
So thank you to whoever decided not to put us in a helicopter in conditions that were potentially unsafe.
The Minnesota National Guard aviation boss said no.
Despite the fact that we are trained helicopter passengers.
Yes, I can be buckled into a seat by another adult man better than anybody else.
Told to keep your hands to yourself.
Pretty much.
And stop crying.
Go to the bathroom before you leave. I got all that stuff down.
Had there been
Nap a little bit.
Are you going to cry the whole way there?
Just for the first 10, then I'll conk out.
Had there been a war going on and they had to fly, they would have. But since it was media and they were going to bring them up here, they thought, let's be nice and safe and careful.
I appreciate that.
And see if they can drive their cars. So thanks for driving up.
All right, boss man, what is in the news bag when we return?
We're going to save the election results from yesterday. We had some primaries happening that we'll get into those results in the 7 o'clock hour. In the meantime, there was a gun control bill hearing at the state capitol yesterday. We'll get into that a little bit. Plus, the House has passed an education bill.
All right, all that plus we are dropping a news bomb on the Minnesota Republican Party. All that and more when we return.